live. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully good. Well, we'll start off with the hellos. Let me go right up to the top here. Looks like Gerald Stewart was the first one in, so he gets the cookie. Good to see you, Gerald. And enjoy that cookie. After that, we got the Gigliottis with Ray. Oh, excuse me. Good to see you here, Ray. You get the half cookie. Oh, damn. Let's see who else came in after that. It's Thomas, Nashville Steam 42, or Spike Man, actually. I'm going to explain what's going on here after I say the hellos. Well, I'm going to attempt to anyway. Anyway, good to see you here, Thomas. Let's see who else we got here. Dundas Junction Model Railroad, James, how you doing? Good to see you. And we got John Nippenberg. John, good to see you. Yeah, we're still scrolling through here. Schuylkill River Valley, John, good to see you here. Hey, Chuck Shriver, good to see you here, Chuck. And Hot Dog Pilot Andy. Hey, Hot Dog. Andy, how's it going? I know it's kind of late, but hey, you know, good to see you here. And it looks like that might be everybody so far. Now, I go back over here. Huh. Looks like I got a recent, well, maybe. Yeah, looks like I got a, I don't know, it must have just shut down. Okay, let me refresh it. Alright, so, you guys remember last week we had the same problem. You had the screen names in the chat were not quite right, and you got the @ symbol in front of them. Now, when I went to the main house to eat dinner earlier, 4 o'clock, as I was making dinner, I fired up Shortline Thursday. And, you know, because so my wife can watch it while I'm out here. And it's fine over there. Proper channel names, no @ symbol in front of them. But I come out here and I don't know why. Now, I've checked it on 2 different browsers. I use Chrome and I use Brave. So, because of the overlay on the chat, I have to use Chrome for the browser for in here. But it doesn't matter, because when I fired up the Brave browser and went on to Shortline Thursday, same deal. I didn't try Firefox, but I assume it's going to be the same anyway. As near as I can tell, it probably has something to do with my chat overlay. For some reason or another, it's changing everything. So last week I said it was YouTube, but I don't think it was. I think it's on my end. A little weird. I'll have to. Only 10 p.m. at the moment, Jim. Back to 11 next. Oh, you guys change your clocks too? Yeah, we change ours. I think pretty soon. Yeah, right after Halloween, I think. And I can't keep track of half of this shit anyway. Hey, Anfield Road layout on the loft. Lee, how's it going? Good to see you. GRE 2057, good to see you too. Uh, so, I can't explain what's going on here, except like I said, I use a third-party software thing called Social Ninja to bring up the chat on my second monitor so I can, bring up overlays like this. So you can see that, but I have a feeling that's what's changing everything. I don't know. The only thing I can figure anyway. Anyway, it's not a big deal. It's a bit of a nuisance, but we get used to it. And since most of your names are pretty close anyway, like I said, Nashville Steam is actually Spike Man. But everybody else is pretty much the same, so we'll run with it. So the good news is I did get a few things accomplished. No, not much, but it's something, right? Regarding the mini-me's, I did paint one for myself. And I did a close-up shot of it with my Nikon camera. My Nikon digital. And if you look at the actual figure from a distance, it looks pretty good. Don't really see any flaws in it. However, when you do this, that's what it looks like up close. Looks like hell. Yeah, but like I said, if you look at it with the naked eye, it looks fine. Well, I'm not going to fool with it, but you can see where I got my white hair or grayish hair, the beard mostly. I think the white on the shirt up near the collar is a reflection of light, because I looked at that with a magnifying glass, the actual mini-me figure, and I didn't see that. So like I said, I imagine if you checked all your, or most of your hand-painted minifigures, whether they're mini-me's or something you got from, say, mini prints and painted it yourself, it'll probably look a lot like this. But, not a big deal, because he looks like you, Chris, from RBP Trades, has mini-me's on his layout. There you go. Oh, and I know you didn't change your name, Thomas, but it's just the way it's coming up on my particular chat. Like I said, I think it has something to do with the third-party overlay software that I use. I may do a test sometime during the week without that and see if it changes it, so then I'll know if that's the problem or not. Hey, Wigwag Workshop, Steven, how's it going? Good to see you here. So, anyway, that's, very cool resemblance. All right, John. It kind of looks like me, I guess. Actually looks like a fucking caveman. The way I see it, anyway. Steve said I had trackside Mike paint my minis. Did they look like this? Like I said, if you look at it, it looks fairly decent. Let me try and get it focused in over there. It actually looks pretty good, as long as you're not looking at it like under a microscope. So, anyway. Oh, and by the way, everybody who requested one so far, the first 6 of you, they were mailed out Tuesday, and I mailed out 2 more today. So if you're still looking for one, go to my email, which is in the scroller here, and just say, hey, I want a mini-me of you, and I'll send you one free of charge. Better make one without having a shirt. Hey, Dwight, How's it going? Hey, you came in late. Here, check this out. This is what it looks like. It's severely magnified. It looks better in person, but if you really get up close to it, that's what it looks like. Looks like, don't I look like a Neanderthal or something? It's pretty weird. But, you know, it is what it is. So, anyway, I still got a whole box of them left. I got, let's see here. Ugh. I think I only gave away 10 of them. So you still got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I still got 16 left. Now I'm not going to give them all away, but probably at least 10 more. So if anybody wants one, you know, send me that email with your address, name and address, and I'll send it to you. Hey, Dave, Crooked River and Eastern, how you doing? Yeah, Dave's yours is on the way too, 2 of them. Hey, did you ever get that straightened out with Train World? Just curious. You might have to call them if you did, but because I got my verification on the email like a couple minutes after I put in the pre-order, so we'll see. Let's see what else we got going here. All right. I know Thomas is probably chomping at the bit to see this. Now, I want to show you the bad one first. Now, these are tough to print. I don't care what anybody says. Steam engines are one of the toughest things to print. This was done on the resin printer. It looks fair, but there's a lot of pieces missing. Got a cracked overhang on the roof. And the other side, a wheel fall off. Actually, 2 of them. So as far as I'm concerned, this is junk. I mean, if you want a Thomas, I'll give it to you, but... And I have the tires here. They said they just fell off when I released it. It is what it is. I need to add my credit. Oh, okay, that's cool. So, anyway, now this one here actually came out better. I printed this on the Viper. It's not perfect, but it's, except for a few stray, I guess plastic hairs, you can call them that. It came out fairly decent. So this is the one I'm going to send you. I'm going to let you clean it up, because I just don't have the patience for it. I cleaned a lot of it up. But anyway, you got a lot of detail on there, which, not bad. And both of these prints took 11 hours. So, but it's just, I don't know why they're so hard to print. I guess because there's so many fragile pieces on it, you know, little tiny bars and things like that. And I could probably play with it and maybe figure out a better way to do the resin print, but I'm not impressed with this at all. I mean, it didn't print out the smokestack properly. I don't know why. Probably a lot of the problem is I'd have to make it a little smaller. Now this is exactly 6 inches. Same with the other loco. The locomotive itself is 6 inches, I believe. And actually a little over 6. If I take this down to 5.5 or 5, it'll sit flat on the build plate. And I think this would do probably a lot nicer job. But, you know, it's up to you, Thomas, however you want to go with it. Thanks, Dave. 2011. You guys, come on, hit that damn thumbs up button there, you know. Smash it, lick it. punch it with your nose, however you want to do it. All right, Stephen, cool. I'll send one out to you. Thomas says the filament is better. Yeah, it probably is. And, you know, for some reason here. What the hell is going on here? Looks like for some reason I'm having issues with the overlay. I don't know why. It's not keeping up. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier, Dave, the @ signs. It's not YouTube, it's me. It's on my end. I don't absolutely know what's causing it. I think it has something to do with the third-party social ninja that I use. I haven't tried using a different browser. This only really works on Chrome, but I opened up the Brave browser, went to Shortline Thursday, brought up the chat. It's exactly the same as this, but over at the main house, on my other computer, I brought it up there so my wife could watch it, and everything's fine over there. That's what I'm thinking. The only thing that I can see is different between the two computers. I was looking for the thumbs up button. It looks like a good one, man. I wish this thing would keep up. I'm going to refresh it again, see what happens. It's almost like it's got a completely different chat over here. I don't know. It's weird. So, yeah. Hey, Tom Grassi. How you doing, Tom? Good to see you. I may have to for a while until I get this sorted out. Go over to StreamYard. Because you don't have these problems on StreamYard. But okay, now I'm caught up again here on the second stream. Monitors is matching now. For how long, I don't know. I can bring that up anyway. Hey, John, dinner's calling. You better answer that call, man. You don't want to go hungry. James, be nice. I'm sure he'll be back after dinner. So anyway, that explains that, I think. And I have a lot of issues here. Not with me personally, but I started the OBS and everything else around. I started a little late today, around 2 o'clock. And of course, I check everything to make sure all the cameras are working and stuff. Of course, they didn't. You know, and I don't know how good your memories are, but last week's camera reviews were a little different. Now, I've got a total of 7 cameras in here. And I swear I can only get 2 or 3 or 4 of them working properly at any given time, and then they don't hold, and then I have to switch out. You can call me whatever you want, just call me late for dinner. Yeah. Don't call them late for dinner, right? So, James, are you bragging over there? You got me beat by a long shot. I got like, what is it, I got 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I got around 10 or 11 of them. And 2 of them aren't, actually, no, I got 14 actually. 2 of them aren't even running, so actually 3 if you count this one. I've been fooling around with this trying to reprogram it. Actually get it, trying to do a reset, a general reset on there. And I don't know if uh, the decoder took a shit or not, because it won't accept the code. No matter what I do, it just won't accept it. And when I put power to it, it like screams. The horn blows, the bell's ringing, the throttle's all the way up, and I can't do anything about it. As soon as I put power to it, that happens. So I've got another decoder here. It's an ESU. It's out of the one I swapped out for the Tsunami 2, which still isn't finished. I got it packed away in one of these drawers. I'm going to look for it. I'm going to pop it in here and see. And I'm sure that, well, that'll fix it, obviously. That's an ESU, Tom. It's one that came from the factory, you know, scale trains. So, and these decoders suck anyway. I don't care what anybody says. You know, they might work for some people, but, you know, maybe I did something there and screwed it up somehow. Who knows? But I'm going to swap them out and see if that works. Now, I did look for a decoder for the new loco here. That's this one here. I did run this in DC only, just for fun. Of course, you can't use all the features with it on DC, so yeah, I tried that, Dave, but it won't accept the reset code, because on these it's supposed to be 8 and 8, you know, CV8, and then the 8 for the reset. It won't take it. It just blinks and nothing changes. So I think the decoder's screwed up in that. That's the only thing I can figure. What about Digitrax? So, like I said, I have another Dakota spare one that I took out of the SD40. That's, you can't see it from here. It's actually up there, but you can't see it. That's the one I put the Tsunami 2 in, but I haven't finished wiring up yet. Hey, Stu Structures, how you doing? Good to see you here. So I've got it in a plastic baggie. I got to dig it out of one of the drawers. I'll put it in here, and that should solve the problems. But anyway, as I was saying, I already took the shell off this just for shits and giggles. And yes, it has speakers, and here's a schematic. And you probably can't see the, I don't know if you can see the cursor or not, but these two round things on here, one here and one here, underneath the plastic shell is a speaker. So there's two speakers that are already wired in. And you can't see my mouse, unfortunately. So I don't have to worry about speakers, and it's just a 21-pin decoder. I looked at a Tsunami 2. I found one for $98, new. And that was, I think that was from Train World too. Because I went to Yankee Dabbler, they want $129 for it. I'm thinking, well, shit, it's the same thing. Hey, Ray, how's it going? Raymond 127. So I searched around to see different places, and the best deal I found was from Train World for, like I said, $98. So I'm going to pick that one up maybe next month. I'm not sure. I'm going to try and do it, though, if I can budget it in. I also want to put a keep alive in there, current keeper. They have one that's made for it. It's not a simple plug-in, it has to be soldered in to the motherboard, which is not a big deal. Like you said, I already got documentation on how to do it. Because you almost need to keep alive or current keeper on everything anymore. I mean, to not put one in is foolish. For an extra $29, you can't go wrong. So hopefully I'll have all that put together. And of course I'm looking at the Motor Man, which is the device to run it back and forth, point to point. They're back in stock. And they went up in price a little bit too. They're $129. I know I can't do that until probably December or January, right? No, December. That could be a Christmas present to myself. So, oh, I'll check that out, Dave. Thanks. I think I did check our pipe, but they were out of stock. But I don't remember the price on them. But they don't give you a price if they're out of stock. So we'll see. I'll check it out again. What the hell? I lost my train of thought there. I hate when that happens. So yeah. So anyway, that's the plan, to get it running, to get it up, going back and forth. I may try and see how it runs with the, because I 3D printed the passenger cars. We'll see how they do. If they don't work well on the track, pulling them I don't think will be a problem. Pushing them might be. So we'll see. If they don't push well, I'm probably going to have to break down and just go out and buy maybe Walthers or something, Amtrak, or maybe even Athearn, I'm not sure. And I'll try and find one that already lit, lighted, so I don't have to fool with it. And then maybe I'll sell these or do something with them. But we'll see how it works. If they work fine, then I won't worry about it. But I think I tried pushing them with a regular locomotive and I had some issues. So we'll see how it goes. Other than that about covers that stuff. I do have a video for you to watch. It's a short one. I think it's like 3 minutes. Dave says, last one I got a few weeks ago was 95 shipped. If they're out and you're not in a rush, add your name to the wait list. They will be, all right. Hey, you bought a Tsunami too for 95 bucks? That's not bad. All right, Thomas, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, that's not bad, 95. That's with the discount, right? That's not bad at all. Oh, yeah, one other thing I did. Now, you've heard us all talk about the True Fan locomotives, one with the moving fans that work in conjunction with speed and need and whatever. Okay, yeah, same thing I'm getting then, probably, Dave. Tsunami 2, 21 pin, yeah, same thing. Cool. So anyway, yesterday, well, Dave sent me a text message with, where'd we get that? Was that from Iron Planet Hobbies? I think it was, right? They have a pre-order on the True Fan locomotives. It's a good deal. You get, because it's like regular $3.99, and it was with the discount. It was $3.59. It was 35% off or something like that. So he says you should go ahead and do it. They don't charge you right now. Won't be here for 215 days, which is like 7 months. So they'll come in right around my birthday, I think, or thereabouts. But so I mulled it over for a few minutes, and that's all it took. And I went ahead and pre-ordered one. Is it Fusion Scale Hobbies? Yeah, maybe. I don't remember, Dave, but I went ahead and pre-ordered one. I got the BNSF road name. And I believe it's an SD40 or SD45. Damn nice. I really wanted one. I was gonna wait till February to get one, or at least to order it. But this will be a lot easier now. I have time to actually put together, because I think after shipping and on taxes are going to be high on that for me anyway. Because you know, Florida, they charge you more. I think we're at 7.5%. So I think the total price to my door is $412, I think. So I said, well, it's kind of pricey, but I as long as I get it, all I need is one. You know, they had a deal in there where you could get 5 of them for $1,600. And I'm going, well, that ain't gonna happen. I mean, even if I had the money, I don't think I'd spend it, because that's just crazy. I mean, you get a pretty good discount on it, but still. Well, so yeah, I went ahead and I got one. Said to hell with it. And apparently Crooked Dave, he got one too. And you got the Conrail, I guess, Dave? Yeah, that was the nicest looking one other than the BNSF. So, hey Ray, how's it going? Did you get the cookie? You got the half cookie, Ray. The first guy in, which was Gerald, gets the whole cookie. The second guy in gets the half cookie. And the third guy in gets crumbs. So at least you got the half cookie. So both me and Dave will have one here, you know, in a few months. Quite a few months, actually. 216 days from now. Dave called me a bad influence, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Who's the one who sent me the thing in the first place? So really, Dave's the bad influence. He got me started. Didn't take much to talk me into it anyway. And then I kind of said, well, you know, turnabout is fair play. So I went ahead and said, well, you know, Dave, you got to get one too. No quarter cookies, Raven. But nice try, though. Maybe down the road we'll see. Tom Gray said, Jim, that scale train engine did you use Decoder Pro to sit? Yeah, I did. And it didn't work. And then I figured, well, yeah, because, you know, I've got this here, PR4 that hook up to the computer and Decoder Pro. And it did make a difference. Like I said, it got a signal through. The lights flashed once on the loco. But it didn't change anything. It's like stuck wherever it's at. Well, you sent me the first link, Gerald. Because that's how I found out about it in the first place. That was a few weeks back. But yesterday, or the day before, I don't remember which, Crooked Dave sent me the flyer from whoever's selling it at 35% off. So, you know, it's like, you know, he put a bug in my ear, and so I said, well, the hell with it, I'm just going to go ahead and get it. No, I did not get a 301 code on the display. I got a 151 on that. And it won't let me. I even tried to manually change it in the CV on the CV sheet. It won't let me. Matter of fact, that's the only one that I can't change. All the other CVs I could change, and I could modify them right there in the on the CV sheet, but not CV8. I'm thinking that's got to be something to do with the decoder going bad. Anthony. Hey, Georgia Sunbelt, Anthony. How you doing, Anthony? Good to see you here, man. Hey, your mini-me's on the way. Well, my mini-me. It's on the way. It was mailed out. You should have it soon. And like everybody who asks for one, they're on their way. And anybody else that wants one, you know what to do. Send me an email. Say, hey, I want your mini-me. Just put your name and address down. I may have it, I may not. So to save me the aggravation, just give me your name and address. And I lost my train of thought again. Why? I gotta quit doing that. Send me the email, and I'll send you one out for free. Then we got cute little cases to put them in. I've got like 15 more I could ship out, one per person, and I put them on these cute little cases to protect them, and I ship them in a padded envelope. So there's no tracking on it though, because I'm just using postage stamps to save money. So yeah, if you like I said, if you want one, just shoot me an email. Tom says, Jim, that means the decoder is not communicating with the Decoder Pro. I have another way to factory reset a decoder. Okay, well, give me a call tomorrow or whenever, and we'll see if we can figure that out, because I haven't tried using, my cab controller to do it on the main. It generally won't work because you need... I could try putting it on this, but I have the amplifier for... You really need one for an ECU if you do it on the main. But I have a feeling it isn't going to make a difference anyway. So, yeah, we'll talk about it, man, because if you got an idea, I'm all for it. Like I said, worst come to worst, I do have another decoder here I could drop in there. But, I would like to try and figure this out and correct it. Like I said, I don't know what's going on, why, because I've never had a problem using Decoder Pro. I've not had any problems doing programming. Could change CVs, do factory resets. I've always been able to do all that without any issue, but for some reason, this will not take anything. I mean, I could change some CVs, because that's what started anyway. I wanted to get my ditch lights flashing alternately. So I found which CVs to change, and I went ahead and changed them, and they worked fine. But the road number on this is 3737. I don't know if you can see that or not. And I have two of these. The other one's 3931 road number. Well, this one was reporting at 3931. I don't know why. Something happened when I consisted it, maybe. I don't know. But I said I just figured I'd do a factory reset, start over again, but it wouldn't let me. That really sucks. But that's the thing you gotta go through with this, I guess. So. Well, the transformer I have, I believe, is 14 volts. See if I can read it on here. Yeah, 14.9 volts DC output is the decoder I use for, or the power supply I use for the PR4, which supplies voltage to the piece of track. So, I mean, I could check it. Maybe it's worn out, and I'm not getting 14 volts anymore. Yeah, I never thought about checking the voltage on that. I'll do that tomorrow when I get a chance. And maybe that power supply is going bad. I've had some really bad luck with power supplies lately. Now I have security cameras outside around the house. Nice to have one in here too. Don't know if you can see that or not. See it up there above the door? They're wireless, and but but you still have to provide 12 volt DC power to them. Well, I've got one in the back. It's supposed to be in the backyard in a little fenced-in area for the dogs. And I went through three transformers in the last 2 years. And I don't know what's going on because I checked the voltage in the outlet. It's 112 volts, which is fine. And I don't know what's going on, you know. Why the transformers keep blowing out. And so far that's, well, I know I take that back. That transformer go bad on this side of the house too. I had to replace that one. I mean, they're probably really cheap to begin with. So it's very possible that, yeah, that one could be degraded. I'll have to check it tomorrow. I didn't even think about that. Are you even talking about on the loco itself? That's possible. Well, this is, you know, it's 6-wheel pickup. So you got 3 pickups on each side of the back, 3 pickups on the front. I don't have an NCE system, Sparky. By the way, good to see you here. I have Digitrax. Digitrax does not have that feature. But I have, and plus I'm not running that anyway. I'm using JMRI through the computer. And it uses a wall wart that plugs into my PR4, which is connected to a piece of track. And that's how I do my programming. So, yeah, that won't work. But Tom might be on to something there. You know, either I should test the voltage on the track. Probably the easiest way to do it. Because realistically, there should be 14 volts on the track. And I also want, but once again, see, I'm not having a problem programming anything else. So I had the second one at the 3931 ES44, and I did a factory reset on that and redid everything because it had some issues too, and it took it with no problem. So I honestly believe it's probably in the decoder itself, more than likely. And like I said, if I find, I'll find the other decoder, pop it in. If that solves the problem, then we'll know it was the decoder. So, Sparky, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. Oh yeah, Sparky, see what I bought? I finally broke down and bought one. P42. The DCC ready, but so I've got to put a decoder in it. Which I'm going to try and get the decoder next month. I got to put a Tsunami 2 in there. It's a 21 pin plug-in, so no big deal. Speakers already in it. So that's going to be good. Now I've still got to get the Motorman auto reverser, point-to-point reverser, whatever. That I'll probably have to wait till December to get. 3 days off this weekend. Well, damn, Sparky, what the hell? Or is there oh, wow. You get Halloween off or what? That's pretty cool. The P42 diesel or electric. I think this one's diesel. If it were electric, wouldn't it have those things on the top? It doesn't have them. Plus it's got a smokestack right here, so indicating it's more than likely a diesel. I don't know a whole lot about these anyway, but I just thought it was so cool looking I had to have one. You know. Looks are everything, right? I mean, technically, they're all diesel electric anyway. You got a diesel engine that powers a generator, which drives the electric motors on the trucks. But if you're referring to one that were above wires, no, this one doesn't have it. They do make them that do, though, but not this one. And then I didn't want one anyway because then I'd have to string wires. You know, for realism, I said, nah, that's too much work. I'll just go with the diesel. But you know, that got me to thinking, which I just now did, that I don't have any place where I can actually refuel the diesel on the elevated track. So maybe I should make, somewhere on there, I should make a small diesel refueling system. So, you know, just for shits and giggles. So it can refuel the diesel when, you know, it gets low. Because right now there's nothing on there to do that. Which, by the way, you don't have, well, your subway system is diesel too, right? So you would technically also need a way to refuel the tanks. But you can take your diesels and bring it on to your regular mains, right? Through the helix. I won't be able to do that. It's completely isolated from the rest of the layout. You're working on a couple of things, Sparky. Well, damn. So yeah, so that's that. What else we got there? Yeah, well, they are electric, okay. But you don't have the line. Or are you running track voltage? Well, because I know in some subways they have the third rail, which provides electric power to the subways. So technically that's what yours would be, right? So it wouldn't necessarily need overhead lines. I forgot about that for a minute there. God, you guys, you're gonna hurt my brain here, man. Making me think too much. But, and you know what I'm gonna do? Yeah, I do too, actually, for refueling station. I think. I may have to ask you to send me yours. I'm not sure yet. Might even be better than mine. I don't know. Now that reminds me, I keep forgetting to send you the file for Dave Thurber's Mini-Me. When I get done tonight, before I leave here, I'm going to send it to you. Otherwise, I'll keep forgetting the damn thing. Because I know you asked me for it. And I said, all right, let me do it. So, let's see what else we got going here. I haven't had a chance really to mess with my layout at all. I think I'm going to redo some of my cameras, you know, move them. Because I don't really like... I still got that up there? Alright. I really don't like the way the cameras are positioned. So I'm going to reposition them, I think. That's what that's going to be my fuck. That's going to be my directive for next week. Oh, you got some? Well, I got them, Dave. I'll send it to him. It's not a big deal. But if it's quicker for you to do it, go ahead and send it to him. But yeah, I'm losing my mind lately. I forget everything half the time, and then I remember later. I usually remember when I get back to the house. Shit, I was supposed to send him that Mini-Me, and I didn't do it. I still got to print yours too. I never got around to printing one. I mean, I want a Tom, and I haven't printed his yet either. I got to quit screwing around here and get these things printed and get them out on the layout, you know. There's so much to do. It's just, you know, sometimes it's a little overwhelming. Yeah, I seem to be overwhelmed with so much different things going on. It's crazy. So yeah, if you'd send them out one, Dave, I'd appreciate that. It'd probably be just as easy for you to do it. So. Well, I could send you one to Tom, or Tom could send you one. It's up to Tom. Tom, do you want to send him one, or you want me to send him one? Because I still got your file here. Like I said, I just haven't gotten around to printing it yet. You know, ultimately, we're going to have to start sending everybody, each of us, the other guys, you know. We can have our own meet and greets. Or what would that call it? Mini meet and greet? You know, it'd be kind of cool to do. Like I said, right now I have one of Heath, but he's spying on the nude women on Doodle Lake. I've got one of Tom Kvichak. He's standing in front of my house, and I have one of Rick, Christmas Tree Rick, and he's actually got a Christmas tree with him. And I got him dragging the Christmas tree over to a small cabin. So that's the only ones I have, you know, of anybody, except like I said, I got Tom and I got you, Dave, but alright, that's cool, Tom. I appreciate that. So I got to just get around to printing them and then painting them up. And I've gotten pretty good at painting them. Now, you know, Tom Grassi said his girlfriend Barbara, she went out and bought some mini brushes, which I probably should go out and buy them too. I've got some small brushes. Like the one I used to paint mine with was the, actually it's weird, it's pink. And it's a real thin hair on it. And I was able to, you know, with a steady hand you can do it. It's not easy. Because I've got the mini paint brushes too, the ones with the, like the fur on them. Micro brushes. But you can only do so much with them, and they're not really good for doing real high detail work. Tom said, Jim, you can take pictures of the ones you have and send me the photos so I can make them too. Yeah, I'll do that for you, no problem. That'll work. I'll do that tomorrow. Now that I got the Nikon working, so, you know. I thought I had to buy new batteries for the Nikon, but so it's back in operation again. That's the only problem I have with battery stuff, you know. Anything you have that runs on, what, it's a tool, a camera, whatever. When you need it most, the batteries are going to be dead. It just always seems to be that way. That's tiny. That paintbrush, let me put that up on the screen. I have paintbrushes that are 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 4 zeros and 5 zeros on them. That's some damn small brushes. Like I said, I've got a ton of brushes that I've collected, you know, over time, and I bought some. I bought the micro brushes. They're handy for some things. But, you know, just let me grab one here. I'll show you the basic problem with doing fine work with them. before I show you that one, here's the pink one that I used. And you can, oh, it's kind of hard to see, but it's got a really, really fine brush on. I mean, it's really thin. And that was real handy for doing, you know, like in between the arms and the shirt, or the body, you know. So the problem with this now this is a micro brush. Now, well, you can actually see that. It's got like a furry tip on it. And they're good for some things, but you can't like on the figures, if you're trying to do between the arm and the side of the body, this isn't going to work for you. Because it's going to wind up doing both because it's just a little too thick. Like I said, it has its place and they do work well to some degree. But not for everything, so... You know... Let me move this camera over a little bit. You see the train when it goes by. You can just see it right there. So, I should probably invest in a set of good mini or micro brushes. You know, like I said, I can work with something like this because it's thin. You probably can't really see that too well, but... And I think this is the smallest one I have. Yeah, I mean, you could really get in there and... You know, my hands aren't as steady as they used to be, but... I mean, they're still not bad. I ain't doing this, you know, but not yet anyway. Now this one here, well... This one is... I can't work with this one anymore. I can barely hold anything with it, you know. Hold it steady anyway. Hey, Floyd, how's it going? Good to see you here. So, yeah, like I said, I'm going to have to work on that, but... In the meantime, and then there's things I still got to buy. I need more couplers. I'm going to have to buy another bag of Katie couplers. That's not going to happen anytime soon. That probably won't be till January, because like $70 for 100 of them, I think, or 50 of them maybe. I don't remember. Turn on there. Well, they're not cheap. I still have a ton of wheels, which is a good thing. I bought a big box of wheels. No, not that one. Where'd it go? I had a box of wheels. Oh, there it is. Still a little disorganized here. When I buy these by a box of 100. And I've probably got at least 50 left. And these are the Walther's Protos. This is a 100 pack, okay. I don't remember what I paid for these. They weren't that bad. Might have been around 50, 60 bucks, something like that. I don't remember. But I bought them, I think, a year and a half ago. But, because like I said, you know, I got a bunch of, I got a few train cars, rolling stock from Spike Man. And of course, I had to change out the wheels. Well, I don't have any. Yeah, I got one right here. And well, I got to change the wheels on this one. They look like they're metal, but they're not. They're actually plastic. So I'm gonna have to change them out. Of course, I'll have to put Katie couplers on this, but I got to get coupler boxes as well. At least there's some meat here to. These just pop right in. Actually, And they just pop right in there, the trucks do. Might even be cheaper to buy new trucks, but if I glue the bottom here on this crossbar where I can mount the coupler box. I really don't like the truck mounted couplers. They just don't work well. Plus these are, you know, horn hooks. So I'll put Katie's on there. So I still got a few on the where I put metal wheels on them. They've got plastic wheels on this one too. Same deal. I'd have to change out the couplers. But the ones I'm running now on the one train that's on the outside main here, they've got horn hook couplers, and the one boxcar, which is Walters, looked like it was new in the box, but one end was a horn hook and the other end was a knuckle coupler. So it worked out pretty good because I use all knuckle couplers. So went ahead and hooked it up to, you know, my existing rolling stock, and because it had the horn hooks or hook horns or whatever the fuck they're called on the other end, I was able to use his cars and hook them up, and we still pull them around. So I think I've got, it's coming around now, but I think I've got 4 or 5 of his cars I swapped out with metal wheels, and they're doing okay. I had to weight them down and stuff. That's another problem with the older stuff. None of it's properly weighted. You know, it's like this here. I mean, this thing probably weighs 2 or 3 ounces. It's nothing. It just, you don't put weight in it, you're going to have issues with it. So, and same with the open hopper. A little heavier, but still could use some extra weight in it. And I've got this boxcar. Once again, this thing weighs about 3 ounces. So, you know, I'm going to have to fool around with that stuff and make it so it's more usable for what I need it for. So let's see what I got here. Yeah, the Pennsylvania boxcar is the one that he gave me. It's got a different coupler on each end. There's a Burlington Northern, the Eggo car, Pacific Fruit Express, and Old Dutch Cleanser. They all still have the horn hooks on them, so I'm going to have to swap them out. As far as I know, nothing works now. I don't have a new one. Because I used Vinny's for a while, and I also used Dave Thurber. He had a code with them too. And now neither one of them works, at least as far as I know. When I was on their site, I didn't even see anything that said, you know, you could use their code. So, Dave, is your code, if you're still on here, your code work with Yankee Dabbler anymore? Did they ever get that fixed? I know you talked about it some time back, that it wasn't working. In most cases, even without the code, their stuff is pretty reasonably priced. But hey, you know, discount's a discount. I'll take it. Because when I bought track from them, I bought the Tsunami 2 decoder from him. Of course, back when I bought it, I think it was like $80 with the discount. I buy the wheels from him, and the metal wheel sets, and I also buy the Katie couplers from him too. So, if there is a code, yeah, I'd like to find out what it is too, because I'll utilize it down the road too. So Jim, I'm an NMRA member and that code works, but it's only 5%. Well, I think Vinny's code was only 5% too, wasn't it? And I think so was Dave Thurber's Crooked River. Maybe Vinny's might have been 7%. I don't remember. I think his was a little bit higher at one point. Of course, Vinny's not really doing much with trains now, so I can see why they wouldn't give them a discount anymore. I thought about joining the NMRA too, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of expensive to join myself. I'm saying there's so many, like Model Railroad or the magazine, I was getting that for like 5 years, and I got some really good deals on subscriptions for it. But then I thought, I'm just throwing money away with it, because I glanced through them. I hardly ever read anything. I just glanced through it, and nothing really, jumped out at me. So I figured, why am I spending money on this? So I let it lapse, and I didn't hear nothing from them, I think, for over a year. Now I'm getting emails left and right. Oh, please come back to us, like you're no girlfriend or something, But they're not really offering me that great of a deal. I mean, yeah, there's discounts. I think you can get a year for like $22 or something like that, which, isn't bad. But I think are they bi-monthly now? I don't remember. I think they are. Or maybe, I don't remember, to be honest. But when I was getting it was every month, and I've got a stack of them here because I saved them. But like I said, the reality is it was kind of a waste of money, because I wasn't really getting anything out of them other than, oh, look, this is cool, So I let it lapse, and so I'm doing that with a lot of things now. Trying to save money where I can, so I can spend money on things that I really want, So, do I want to spend $20, $30, $40, $50 on a magazine every year? Or do I want to put that towards, say, the rolling stock or a locomotive, So that's kind of the way I'm looking at things now, so I'm trying not to waste any money on things that I feel are unnecessary, But I also understand too that there's things I still have to buy. I can't get around it, You can't print everything. There's some things you just have to break down and buy, So, and I'm kind of getting to where, well, not so much this year, but probably after March, because I just got my tax bill today, property tax bill. Fucking thing went up. Not much. I think it's a little over, yeah, it's $13.94. Where last year I think I paid $12.79, something like that. So went up almost $200. And I'm not happy about it, but there's nothing I can do about it. So they still haven't. They have to vote on the state constitutional amendment to do away with it, which won't happen until November of next year. It would have been nice if they did like a special election for it now. Because what's going to happen, and it'll probably pass. But chances are we won't actually see the zero property tax until, 27. Because 26 will be in November, which, they'll be handing out the tax bill. I don't think they can do away with it that quick. So it probably won't be until, 27 that our taxes will be no more. Hopefully. And I know a lot of you guys pay a lot more in taxes than I do. It sucks to be you, that's all I can say. But, but they said it right now. I think they said 17 states are looking at abolishing property tax. It should be a federal thing where everybody stops paying it, because it's bullshit. It's because you don't have true ownership. You know, my house is paid for, but if I don't pay that tax, they take it away from me, you know. Well, they try anyway. That's the hill I'm willing to die on, but still it'd be better to avoid it, you know. So anyway, I figure I could have it paid by March, because that's kind of the deadline anyway, and I'm going to have to wait until, because I got to put together, you know, right now I've got zero money saved. I'm hoping to have at least 500 next month. That's if, because we're, you know, I don't know how many guys know about the money. Well, I don't know. I think it's only for Florida, but I have Progressive insurance, Progressive direct car insurance. Well, they were overcharging us, like by a lot. So they got sued, and according to our governor, next month we're supposed to get a $300 refund. I'll take it. So, it is, Tom, without a doubt. So hopefully I'll get the $300 from that, and I've got another $200 or $300 I could put aside out of my money, which will give me a minimum of $500 to put toward the taxes. And in December I could probably do the same thing. You know, because the electric bill drops down in the winter too. I just got the electric bill, it's $293 this month. Last month it was $343. So, and before that it was $350 something. You know. But during the hot months, of course, it's going to be higher, but we haven't really been using air that much. So I might see a $200 electric bill, maybe even under $200 in the coming months. And of course that makes a big difference, so I can put aside more money for the taxes. And I'm figuring, you know, 3 or 4 months I can easily put together the $1,400 that I need. Once that's paid, then I'm going to go crazy and probably start buying things. Now of course I have to put together $400 for the True Fans Local that I pre-ordered. But 216 days from now is, let's see, there's 30, 60, 90, 120, 120. That's almost 8 months, I believe, because half of that's 4 months. So it's 7 or 8 months away. That gives me plenty of time to come up with the money for that. Plus, I could also put aside money for other things that I need. I want to make some progress on my layout, you know, for the rest of this year and of course next year. Oh yeah, fuck off, man. Oh, that's because you're all solar, man. You got the batteries and everything. If I had that, what do you say your electric bill is, like $10 a month? So yeah, you're probably producing more current than you use, so you're selling that back to the electric company, and you got a $125 credit. Nice. You know, the thing is though, is it would cost me so much money to put solar in, and the batteries, that it wouldn't pay for itself for probably 20 years. I may be dead by then. If I were younger, I'd probably do it, you know, like if I was still in my 30s. But at my age, I really wouldn't save anything, you know. Now, if I won the lottery, once again though, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't care, you know. But if I just wanted to be a smart ass and say, you know, I want to be frugal, I could spend the $50, $75, or $100,000 to put solar in with the battery packs, and I'd be doing the same thing you're doing. But you know, I mean, I think it's like a minimum of $50,000 just to do the solar. And the batteries are what, 10 or 15,000 each pack? Yeah, that's a lot of money, man. I could buy a lot of electric with that. So, for me, I won't do it. Hey, Derek. How's it going, Derek? Good to see you. Hey Derek, I sent out my mini-me to you. You should be getting it in a few days. I put your name on the envelope even though... Is that your roommate, or are you running an alias, or what's the deal with that? But I put your name in that address that you gave me. So you know it was for you. So you should get in a few days either way. So anyway, that's where I'm at with all this stuff. Like I said, I've got so much to do. Oh, you're welcome, Derek. I'm kind of dragging my ass with the feeders. It's going to be a pain in the butt. You know it, I know it. I got to do it. But I'm going to drag it out as long as I can. But, and I've got most of what I need. Hey, Ken Amos, how you doing, Ken? Good to see you here. I got everything I need to do it, so it's just really, you know, cracking down and doing. All right, Gerald. Well, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in, and we'll see you next time. And once, well, the other thing I really do need to, I need to get the 1x3s for spacers and the fiberboard. I got to get a sheet of that. And of course, you know, once again, I still have to fix my Ford Ranger. Which I'll get to eventually. I said I've got the filter for it, but it's going to be a real pain in the ass to put it in, so, you know. Dave, what's going on with the addition of the train shed? Well, that's going to be next year sometime. I want to buy a shed for the room. It's probably going to be about an 8x10. And then I was thinking I was going to put a second shed for the Helix. And I got to thinking, that's a waste of money, sort of. Well, really, I just need to build like a tip-out box. Because the Helix is only going to be, I think it's 21 inches tall. So I could build a box outside with a door, you know, a lid, so I have access to it in case I needed something. And I could build that for probably around, well, probably about the same price as a shed, maybe, but less aggravation. If I put a shed in, I have to build the floor. Floors get expensive, because that's what I'm going to have to do with the extra room. The shed I plan on buying is only $300, but of course it doesn't have a floor in it, so I'm going to have to put a wood floor outside. That means I have to put the what do they call them, floor joist, I think, a shitload of those, and a stand-up 2x4s and a 2x4 frame, and then the outside of, you know, have cinder blocks under it to hold it up, and then 3/4 inch plywood on top of it. Set the shed on it, and of course silicone everything in, make sure it's, you know, sealed. And then I'll put a, you know, vinyl tiles on the floor, you know, inside the shed. So that's not going to be cheap. I mean, altogether, I figure I'm going to spend maybe $700 or $800 on the room, which is still cheaper than building one from scratch. You know. Floyd says, hey Jim, I'll be leaving at 7:30 as Chris GBO After Dark starts his Halloween. Okay, that's cool. Well, thanks for popping in, Floyd. And, you know, enjoy that show, man. What kind of shed? Just a metal shed. I saw one on Amazon. It's 8x10. I think it's a little over 6 foot tall, because I don't need anything tall because, you know, I'm short. And it's really just going to be for, I'll put 2 benches in there. I'll turn around the sink over here so it's on the other, outside the wall. And Yeah, I thought about that, Tom, using 2x6s, but you're not really supporting a lot of weight there, so I figured why, you know. The 2x4s will be fine. It's only going to be 8 foot deep anyway. The 10 foot will be in length. I'm going to put them a foot apart. So there's going to be a lot of them there, and they're standing up, so I don't think you're going to have any issues with it. And of course, I could put cinder blocks underneath in several different areas for extra support, you know. And it'll be fine, you know. What else was I going to say? Lost my train of thought again. So, yeah, so the metal shed, basically I'm going to turn it around. Well, it's a lean-to shed, so it has a sloped roof, which is perfect. And if it butts up against the wall here, it's underneath the overhang of this shed. I'll still seal it in, but, you know, when rain and stuff hits it, it's going to be beyond, you know, where it actually hooks to the wall, and it'll slope out and then run out, you know, toward the ground. So I'm going to build it to where normally they would have the door on the side or the front, and I'm going to turn around the frame part so that the opening, I'll have to make an opening, but I won't have a door outside. It'll be solid, but I'll have a door on the inside. Well, not a door, but an opening on the inside, and then I'll knock an opening in here, and that'll be my pass-through. I'm not even going to put a door up because it's unnecessary. Well, Tom, the problem with concrete is I need permits for that. Permits cost money, and concrete's not cheap either. I don't know what they're getting for a yard, but my neighbor just had a slab put down. It cost him $5,000, and I think it's a 10 by 20. Obviously, I don't need one that big, but you need a permit for that. Now, if you use wood, it's not considered a permanent structure. Because when I bought this shed, I didn't need a permit for this either. Because that was, for instance, am I going to need a permit to put this thing, you know, in my yard? No. It's because it's movable. It's not anchored to the ground, per se. It's not considered a permanent structure, therefore you don't need a permit. And that's why I'm going with the metal shed and the wooden floor. Because it simplifies things. If it wasn't for that, see, because I had a wood slab put down that I paid $5,000 for, and he said originally I was going to get a 20 by 40 metal building, and because I asked him, I said, can you put this on a wood floor? He said, oh yeah, no problem. Well, I got the wood floor built. Like I said, this thing was heavy duty, anchored in the ground and everything. It wasn't going nowhere. They sent a guy to come look at it. He said, no, we can't put that on there. You got to have concrete or gravel. And I'm going, well, this is actually stronger than gravel. And it's anchored into the ground, you know. They sunk by 4x4s 3 foot into the ground and cemented them in at like 15 points. So you're telling me you can't put a metal building? Nope, can't do it. Fine, fuck you then. I got my money back, and that was the end of that. So I went back to the shed place, and I said, you know, they won't put it up because I ordered it through them, you know. He called the guy up, and the guy says, well, we're just not going to do it. And they wouldn't even give them a reason. They just said, no, we're not going to do it. So I don't know if the guy had a bone up his ass or whatever, but... So I went back there and I said, well, what can you do for me? He says, well, the biggest we got is a 13 by 22. It's all right, I'll take it. You just got a floor and everything. We just drag it on your property and that's it. It's done, you know. We'll level it for you and you're good to go. I said, all right, fine. And that's what I spent $8,200 on. And I got a good deal because now they're over $12,000. For the same thing I got now. You know, inflation, right? 2x12s and 3/4 inch plywood. Just kidding. Yeah, 2x12 is a little crazy there, Derek. No. Their sheds are all wooden. Because I have an 8x12 out here that I use for a utility shed. You know, for lawn equipment and stuff. And I paid $4,100 for that. It's a nice shed. It'll last forever. You know, it's really well built. But that's way above my, you know, I'm not going to spend that kind of money. The good news is, they said, they're self-contained too. Comes with a floor. You know, it's all wood construction. You'd still have to put inner walls in, which is no big deal. I'm going to have to do that no matter what I do. All right, Floyd, well, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. So now sheds have gotten expensive. Like I said, the only place you can get a deal on them now is Amazon. They sell them. Home Depot's got them. I looked at theirs, and they had a 10x8 for, I think it was $1,600, somewhere around there. Ain't no different from the one in Amazon. I'm thinking, you know, that's crazy. And you still have to put them together. They give you a couple of boxes and, you know, just sheet metal in there and frame rails and screws and nuts. And you still have to assemble it, so it's just the way it is, you know. But it'll be fine for what I need. It don't have to be crazy, like I said. And I'm going to actually bolt it to this building. So it'll become part of it, you know. And seal everything in. Everything will be silicone sealed. You know, the walls, the ceiling, or I should say the roof, and the floor. So it'll be watertight. Of course, I'll have to put electric in there and inner walls, which, you know, I could take my time doing that. And I'll either build benches or get, I have this one here. You probably can't see it. My fat ass in the way. I got that one there. I think it's 8 foot long, 8 or 9 foot long, 4 drawers. I got that at Harbor Freight. It was on sale when I bought it. It's really heavy duty, man. I mean, that thing's it's a monster as far as weight goes. But it's real nice. I think I paid $119 for that one. I checked with Harbor Freight, and I think they got them for $129 now. And I'm going to probably keep this one in here, but move it down. Because like I said, the sink will go away. The sink will be on the other side of the wall. So I can move that bench right up against the end of these... I'm on a lost words today. Right up to the end of the layout. And that'll give me enough room for a door opening on this corner over here. So. Jerry says, I just thought about your overlay not working, Jim. How old is that monitor you're using for it? It's more than 10 years old. Throw it out and get a new one. It's an Acer. Like I said, it's just a small one. I don't know how old it is. That one right there. That's not the problem, though. The problem isn't with the screen. The problem is with the overlay itself, because that's your chat there. And it just locks up for no reason after so many minutes of use. It's like I said, I could hit refresh, you know, on the page, and it'll start over again and be working, but I think somehow or another the program itself is altering the live chat. Because if you look here, this is the pop-out chat from YouTube. It's on my screen as well. And you can see that the channel names aren't really correct. they're kind of newfangled or whatever you want to call it there, but sorry if I'm making you guys dizzy. So yeah, it's got to do with the overlay itself, not the screen. So the only other screen I have a 55-inch monitor, well, TV, because this one here in front of me is a 40-inch. It's ancient. It's the first video I ever bought. I bought it in 2010. So it's pretty old, but it still works, and until it stops working, I'll keep using it. But I've got a 55-inch Hisense in the garage that'll replace this one when this one goes. So I don't have room for two big screens, but I got room for the big one, and this. I think this is what, a 13-inch or 15-inch or something like that. Yeah, it's a little computer monitor. It's fine. I have another one if I need it in case this one quits, but it's about the same age. And Dave says, I built 2 of those metal sheds in my life. I've never seen so many nuts and bolts and plastic washers, never again. I built a few of them too, and they're not fun. But they're not that bad either, you know. Like I said, I could still do it. I'd rather not, but, you know. I have nobody here to help me with anything, you know. The wife does what she can, but, you know, she's limited too. She's only a year younger than me. I think she's actually only 6 months younger than me. You know, we're getting old, man. It's getting tough to do shit. But, you know, well, so far, I mean, if I really have to do something, I will do it, you know. Long enough to get on the ground, then fine, you know. So when I get to doing the screw in the bottom part, I'll lift it up, set it on a chair or ladder or something, so I can stand up or sit down and put the screws in. I just can't get on the ground and do it, you know. That's my limitation. James, Jim gave away $1 million. You had to be present to win, though, so you did not win. Good one there, Dave. Hey, Eugene Quaice, how you doing? Good to see you. Hello, how are you doing tonight? Good evening, everybody. I'm doing good tonight. I gave you thumbs up. Well, thank you, sir. And hang out, because, you know, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. Mostly trains so far, which is unusual. But, you know, we'll stay with it as long as we can. James says, Crooked Dave, I'm going to build two N-scale modules for someone. Oh, not everyone? I was hoping everyone. Oh, anyway, that's cool that you're doing that. You're getting paid, I assume. But even if you're not, it'd be fun to do. Although it's N-scale. I envy N-scalers because you guys are doing something I really can't do. You know, I have enough of a problem with HO scale. And there ain't no way. I mean, I tried N-scale when I first got into it again. You know, my first layout back in 07 or 08. I think it was 08. I started with N-scale figuring it'd be easier. I had a small bedroom to work in, and I built a 4x8 bench. And I spent about $2,000 on N-scale stuff. It was a lot cheaper back then too. But I had such a difficult time with it. You know, I mean, and I wasn't doing any of the fancy shit that I do now, you know. And I didn't have anything with sound in it. Basically I got DCC, but, you know, without sound. So if I wanted to convert it to sound, I'm thinking, hey, no damn way in hell. And I'm going to put a sound decoder in a train engine that's this big, you know. I had a hard time putting them on the tracks. You know, they were fun. They were excellent to running them and all, but I had so many problems with, you know, working on them. I'm thinking if I had to change out couplers or something, I'd wind up throwing it in the trash before I got it done. You know. And you know, I sold everything and bought HO, went back to HO, which is what I originally started with way back in the day. I would have liked to have gone with O scale, but come on. You know, I can't afford $2,000 for a DCC with sound locomotive. And that's about what they're going for. And it's like, you know. And plus you need, I mean, I could put an O scale layout in here. I've seen guys do it. A little 4x4 table, and that's, you know, it's cool. But for what I wanted to do, I would need 2 of these sheds at least. You know. And I'd probably want them end to end, you know. So that'd be 32, 64 foot long by 13 wide. And I mean, I could have done it at the time. I had enough money, but I had other things that I needed to do too, and I just felt that that's crazy. But I almost wish I'd have bought 2 of these sheds and put them side by side. That would have been, and at the time it would have been cheap, you know, 16 grand. Actually about 17 grand. I could have done it and saved myself a lot of aggravation. But I've tied up a lot of money in this. You know, like I said, when you buy a shed, holy shit, $9,000? What the hell is it, gold plated? That's nuts, man. I put that one up on the board. So, you know, I had to do everything in here. I had, you know, inner walls, insulation, had to put in a ceiling, electric, plumbing for the sink. You know, I had to do all that stuff, and I replaced the front door because it had a barn door on it. I go, that ain't gonna work. So I put an actual man door in there. And that meant a little modification here and there, because the barn door that was here was, I think it was 42 inches wide, and I got a 36-inch door. So I had to do some filling in and stuff, but so that was, you know, that was the first thing I did, was put a real door in. And of course it came with a floor, but it was just a bare wood floor. So I wanted, you know, tiles on the floor. I was going to do carpet, and I thought, nah, that would have been a mistake. It would have been quieter, but I put vinyl stick-on tiles on the floor. You know, and I dressed up things with, you know, the molding on, you know, the floor molding. I've got molding on the ceiling. You know, lighting. You know, there was a lot of shit. I mean, I probably got $12,000, $13,000 tied up in the shed with the cost of the shed, which was $8,200, and the rest was, you know, and I used drywall. I wanted to use 1/4-inch plywood, but at that time, the 1/4-inch plywood was like ridiculously priced. I said, you know what, drywall is still cheap, so I'll just put in drywall, hell with it, you know. And of course, you know, I put that up. I had to tape it in myself. Put in a, you know, a breaker box, and I mean, everything's totally, you know, code. Even though I didn't get any permits or anything for it, but, you know, everything is 100% correct and code and, you know, safe. Oh, and then air conditioning, so that was another $1,000 I spent on air conditioning. So, you know, it shit adds up after a while, you know. Ray says you can buy pre-owned O-gauge most, if not every time, they're like new. Yeah, but I'm sure they're not cheap though either, really, I bet. And what's that? GRE says, don't forget to set your clocks back an hour Saturday night before bed if you observe the time change. Is it Saturday? Yeah, I guess it would be, because that's what, the 1st or 2nd? I'm not sure now what day that is. Let me bring that up. Let's see, Saturday. Yeah, it's like, well, technically the 2nd be Sunday night. Well, thanks for that noticed because well, most of my stuff sets automatically anyway. But like the battery operated wall clocks and the clocks in the car stereos, they have to be done manually, and my watch, But the computers, they reset by themselves, and even my alarm clock resets by itself. So yeah, Tom says all his get set automatically. Yeah, as I see right now, that's the last thing that come up on my chat on the monitor, so I have to do a reset again. I think somebody says like every 40 minutes it locks up. Kind of weird. Oh great, even less sunlight. Hey Russ, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. Russ says most steamers are $1,500 to $2,000. That is why I don't have any O-scale steamers yet. Yeah, because you're running O-scale, aren't you? I said the stuff's expensive as hell, And I mean, well, you can easily, you have $50,000 tied up in a layout, easily. And probably more than that if you really want to get crazy, but I just don't have that kind of money. And, of course, one of the other things, because I was smart enough to realize that the money I had wasn't going to last forever. And that was the excess money from the sale of my house, back in Naples. Plus, I had to spend it because if I couldn't find a way to use it, on home repairs, which is mostly what it went for, they would have taxed the shit out of me on it anyway. And plus, I don't know if it would have affected my disability or not. The government gets a little pissy when you have money, And because I was, well under 65, I wasn't 65 yet when I sold the house. Actually, I would have been 60. And I didn't want to risk losing my, disability or anything, so I kind of blew through the money in a hurry. I got what I needed. I should have bought some better things. Like, I bought a riding mower. I bought a John Deere. It's like, not the cheapest one, but it doesn't have a hydrostat in it, transmission. That was a mistake. I paid, the hell did I pay for that thing? $1,800, I think. Yeah, $1,800. If I'd have spent $2,000, I could have got one with a hydrostat in it. I should have did it, and I didn't. Because like I said, I don't care how much money you give me, I'm still frugal, and I just have a problem coming off the money. I really do. If you gave me $1 million, I wouldn't go crazy or go N-word rich on it. I would spend it as frugally as I could. Because that's just the way I am. So GRE says my layout on a $100 a month budget over 5 years costed me $5,000 to fully build and complete it. Used a lot of free stuff to build it. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. This is not a cheap hobby. It's a great hobby, don't get me wrong, but it's not cheap, And if you're not prepared, you could go broke real quick. And of course, that's why I like doing a lot of 3D printing, because I save a ton of money 3D printing stuff that would cost me a fortune to buy, and some of the stuff I print anyway, you can't even purchase anywhere. Custom made stuff. Like they have overhead rail, similar to what I have. Actually, it's a little better looking than mine. But each section is like $40, and the section's about maybe 1.5 feet long. Well, shit. I got 20, 24, 24, 48. I've got like 55 feet of overhead track. Could you imagine what that would have costed me? Printing it think I used two spools of filament, and I buy 5 spools for $70. So really, probably about $30, $40 is what it cost me to print that. You know. Russ says I have about 80,000 in O skill. Holy shit! But that was all spent over 18 years. That's about 4,500 a year. That's some crazy money, Russ. But if you got it, that's fine. But for me, that wasn't going to happen. You know. Back when I was working, I could have probably pulled off something like that because I made good money, you know. I was making better than 100K a year. But, you know, on a fixed income, I'm making a tiny percentage of that. I think I made $21,000 last year, you know, between my disability payment and renting my guest house to my mother-in-law. Not a lot of money, you know. Now, if she ever moves out or passes on or whatever, whichever will happen first, I'll rent that for more money because I'm basically, she pays $600 a month, which is worth $8. And if she ever moved out or, like I said, passed on or whatever, I would rent it out again, but I'd get at least $800 for it. So, and that includes everything, you know, your electric, your water, your trash pickup. It's air conditioned and heated. I mean, everything is there, and everything is well maintained and fairly new. So for $800 a month, it's still a steal, considering that, you know, it's small, true, but you know, for a single person, you know, she has her dog with her, and you know, and she has more than enough room for what she needs. So, you know. But for me, that's not a lot of money. I mean, not considering, like I said, how do you go from, you know, I think the last year I worked, I made it was 118,000, I believe, for the year. So how do you go from 118,000 to 21,000? You know, that's a big fucking cut, man. And it's rough, man, you know. Russ says that's about $350 a month. I don't spend that much now. Hell, I wish I could spend that much, but I don't have the money either, you know. Ken said single person apartment in Maryland, $1,700 a month. I know, it's crazy. It's the same here, even in Sebring, which is kind of a, you know, a podunk town, I guess you could call it. A one-bedroom apartment here is anywhere from $1,300 to $1,800. You know, if you want a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, you're looking $2,200 up. I mean, it's insane, you know. But that's what they're getting, at least for now, anyway. That's what I said. So for what I'm getting, you know, you have a full-size bathroom in there with a stand-up shower. No bathtub, just a shower. And a kitchenette, you know. There's no stove, but I do provide a hot plate, you know, with 2 burners on there. Now, if somebody really needed, I could put a gas stove in there. You know, like an apartment-size one. Because I already have a gas stove in my house. I just have to tee off the line. And there you go, gas. You know, you only need a 110-volt electric for the starter. Because I thought about putting an apartment-size range in there, an electric one. And have to wire it for 220, do all this shit, you know. And there really wasn't room for it. And that was the biggest problem. Because right now I got everything in a line. I've got the sink, countertop, refrigerator. Now, if I put a stove in, the stove would probably have to go either where the fridge is now and move the fridge to the other side of the door, which is where they originally had it. And that would work. But, like I said, and you know, most people, you know, you get an older person. My mother-in-law is 85 years old. I think 85 or 86. She doesn't cook much, you know. And the 2 burner thing works good for her. Plus, she has one of those. It's a microwave convection oven. So between those 2 devices, she can make anything she needs, you know. Budget wisely for your trains and you can afford it very easily. Well, I wouldn't say easily, but yeah, you can afford it, you know. It all depends, you know. A lot of us older guys, you know, we got bigger eyes than we got wallets. So, you know. But, I mean, that's where I'm at now. I mean, I literally have a very, very tiny budget for trains, you know. And I'm making do with it, but it just takes longer to get stuff done, you know. And meanwhile, I'm not getting any younger. But, you know, it works. Russ says, my son and his girlfriend are paying $1,700 a month for a 700 square foot 1-bedroom apartment. That's a little bit bigger than my guest house. A little bit. But, you know, as I'm saying, it's crazy money that they get, you know. When I married my first wife, this is back in 1976, we rented a 500 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, combination living room, dining room, kitchen. And I was paying $120 a month. Didn't include anything, you know, except for, you know, water and garbage pickup, but I had to pay our own electric bill. Had a window shaker, air conditioner in it. You know, it didn't have central, but, and that was like dirt cheap, and it, you know, it was easy enough to pay for, but, and because I went to work in the junkyard as a mechanic and, you know, parts changer, and I was bringing home $300 a week. My boss liked me, so I got a little extra money. So, I mean, I was doing really well, considering, like I said, you know, after we moved out of there, well, we kind of both, because it was a converted 2-car garage, basically. And the guy made a duplex out of it. So then he had notified both of us he was going to turn it into a kids' nursery, you know, like a preschool, pre-K nursery. And we had a couple months to get out, so we went and found another place, and we paid, I think the next place we paid was $165, which still wasn't too bad for a 1-bedroom, 1 bath. And then from there, it just climbed by leaps and bounds. I mean, it's like every time we moved, it went from that to $250, then $275, then $350, then $400, then $600. $630, $650, you know, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, at this rate, by the time I hit 30 years old, I'll be paying $1,000 a month, you know, which wouldn't have been too far off, but it was crazy because wages weren't going up any, you know, but everything else was going up, and it was crazy. Thompson, Jim just found code 100 ties, code 100 railroad ties, and a track joiner STL files. Thinking of making my own track now too. Yeah, you could. You could buy the rails. I don't know if it's worth doing or not, but it depends how much the rails cost, because you can't print those, obviously. It's something to look into, though. $51 printables. I'll check that out. And Ken Amos will too. I'm always looking for new stuff to print, but yeah, like I said, I still got plenty of track here. You know, Tom Grassi gave me a box of Flex Track and a ton of turnouts, and that's what's basically building the second level. And I've still got a lot of track left over. I use mostly the right-hand turnouts. I still got a ton of left-hand turnouts. I think there's a couple Ys in there too, I think. I may use them at some point, who knows. I'm not going to do a third level, that's out of the question. Mostly because everything is too high as it is. If I'd have made my initial bench work about 2 foot lower, then I would have done 3 levels. And I probably should have. But I didn't feel the need to have to do that, so. But 2 levels for now is enough. Like I said, at some point what I could do over here, I may build a bridge from over the front, because I could duck under that with no problem. So I could connect the upper level, left side to right side. And that's a possibility that could happen later on. We'll have to wait and see, but right now there's plenty up there. I got enough room. You know, when I fill it all up, who knows? But until I get to that point, I'm really not going to worry about it. I mean, you know, and that's the thing, you know. And my wife says, you know, you're never happy with what you got. And there's some truth to that. Not that I'm not happy, but I like to expand, you know. I just want to keep going, you know. Now, who knows? Maybe I'll win the lottery next month or next year. You know, I'll buy another damn shed, hook it to this one, you know, or in the back or whatever, and, you know, build on the layout, and I'll have the money to do it, you know. Will that happen? Probably not. But, you know, sounded good though, didn't it? Thompson's found rails on eBay. $34.83 for 17 36-inch long pieces. I don't know if that's a good deal or not. 3 foot long. That's an odd though. 17? Wouldn't you want an even number? Still, it sounds like a good deal, I guess. I'm not sure. Is that nickel silver? Probably, I would hope. I wouldn't use anything but nickel silver. Russ says, I had a 1,200 square foot with basement duplex apartment for $375 a month, but that was back in '91. My brother was my roommate, and I was only taking home $600 a month. It is all relative, in my opinion. Yeah, well, it got that way for a while. Like I said, back when I was paying, you know, $120 or $125, I don't remember exactly what now, but when I was paying that much for rent and I was making $300 a week, you know, 1 week paid everything. Paid my rent, paid the electric bill, food, car insurance. It was all covered in 1 week. That gave me 3 weeks money I could do whatever the hell I wanted with, you know. That was our fun money. I said my mistake was I never saved anything. But I had a poor attitude when I was young anyway. I honestly didn't think I'd live that long, you know. Not that I was really reckless or anything, I just didn't feel like I would be around for a long time, you know. All right, GRE, take care, man. Thanks for popping in. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Well, that's true, Derek. We do tend to spend what we make. That's like I said, you know, I was living high on the hog in a way, you know. We did well. We weren't hurting, and you know, my daughter was born. My first daughter, April, and you know, we had money for everything, you know. So, still was able to take care of her on the next week's rent, you know, second week, and still had 2 weeks of fun money, you know. And had feed and clothe her, doctor and everything, because it was so much cheaper back then. An emergency room visit back then was $15. And if you needed medication, they gave it to you right there in the ER. Now it's $4,000. And if you need drugs, they'll give you a script that go to Walgreens or CVS. We ain't giving you shit, you know. I mean, it really, you know, it's gotten ridiculous. But this is where we're at with it, you know. So, as I'm saying, it was a lot easier to live back then. And Ken goes, and then some. Yeah, that's true. Well, a lot of people, and probably me included, we probably spend more than we make realistically, you know. And I had a lot of issues with, I had a lot of credit cards, and, you know, I let them get out of control. And I wound up doing one of those debt repair things where they paid them off, you know, but at a discounted rate. And I just took out a loan to pay the last two through the same company. So it'll be paid off in 2027. Well, the loan company will be, but all my credit cards are paid off. I cut most of them up. I only have one credit card now, a Visa, with a $300 limit. I've got my $2,000 limit Tractor Supply card. Yeah, that's the only two credit cards I have. You know. But I'm still paying off my Amazon card. They cut my credit off, but I still want to pay them off. You know, I still owe them like $600. But they took away my credit card because I went to a debt repair company, you know, or consolidation company. They got mad and figured maybe I was going to stiff them too. I didn't stiff anybody, you know. But they took mine, and so did Harbor Freight. I had a $2,000 Harbor Freight card. I never spent more than $100 at a time on it. Paid it off the next month, you know. And they pulled that from me too. So fine, fuck you, you know. But, you know, and I'm not a big fan of credit cards anyway, you know. So, Russ ate a lot of ramen back then. I ate a lot of ramen too. We had good food too, but I liked the ramen. I didn't know it was bad for you, you know. They said it's one of the worst foods you can eat. Not so much the pasta, but the ingredient pack that came with it, very bad for you. But, you know, it wouldn't be ramen without the, you know, little pack on there, all the stuff in it, so. Tom says, my last apartment when I was working was $2,500 per month. One bedroom, not very big. I was 15 minutes away from New York City then. That was in 2019 to 2020. Yeah, that's about right. I heard New York City, they get like $5,000 for a one-bedroom, what do they call them, a studio apartment, you know, no walls. That's nuts, man. But, you know, that's what they're getting. Yeah, the salt, right? I really liked it. I used to buy it because at the time I went to, where was it? Shit, I can't remember the name of the grocery because they're not around anymore. But the grocery store we used to sell, they had them on sale all the time. You can get 20 packs for $5. So I was like, well, shit, you know, you can't go wrong. And I could eat 2 packs myself, and usually did. And I wasn't big at the time. I was, you know, didn't have the gut because that was prior to my stroke. Probably why I had the stroke, right? Eating all that crap, but I thought it was good stuff, man, you know. My ex-wife, she ate it too, you know. She didn't have a stroke, but no, it wasn't good for you. Yeah, prices have really gotten crazy. I mean, well, you know, look what's going on right now. Amazon just laid off 30,000 people. 30,000 employees no longer working. Some big company, I can't remember the name, but they just shut their doors permanently. Businesses are going out of business left and right. If this keeps up, I don't know where the hell anybody's going to work at, you know. A lot of companies, well, Amazon is, you know, they're going to use robots. You know, do you think our prices will come down by using robots? Don't count on it. All right, John, have a good one, man. We'll see you later. Have a good night and be careful. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. So I don't know what's going on out there, you know. Ford's in trouble. General Motors is in trouble financially. Of course, you know, a car's $50,000 now, which is ridiculous. Even if I had 50 grand, I wouldn't blow it on a piece of shit car that they're selling now. It's just, you know, I don't know how the hell anybody can live anymore. I mean, it's getting tough, you know. If you're making 100,000 plus a year, I guess you'd be okay, but even then. But you know, if you're down here on, you know, under 25,000 a year, life's going to be difficult for you. You know, I mean, especially like if I had to pay rent or mortgage, I'd be homeless. My money doesn't cover that, and if it did, that's all it would cover. I wouldn't be able to eat. I wouldn't be able to pay the light bill. I wouldn't have car insurance. Be able to buy gas. You know. If the average mortgage now is $2,000 a month, which most of them are, and of course, that's assuming I wouldn't have a guest house. Just on my Social Security check, $1,573. I couldn't even pay the mortgage, and to rent a house, you're looking at, you know, $1,800 to $2,000, $2,200 a month. And once again, how are you going to pay the light bill? In most cases, you have to pay the water bill. You know, nothing's included. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous the way they've got this. So, and it makes it tough too. Like a hobby like ours, trains, it ain't cheap. You know, my wife gives me the side eye every time I tell her I'm going to buy something. You know, I told her I was going to buy that True Fan Loco. It could be $412 when all is said and done. And she goes, "Are you out of your mind?" I go, "I guess." You know, but I really want one. You know, why? Is it because it's cool and because I can? You know, do I need it? No, I don't need anything, but I want it. Russ says China just built a 100-mile road this year. Jim, with all with AI robots. Sounds like everybody can be replaced by AI. Well, you know, the worst part is, I don't know if you guys heard, and I was on YouTube the other day. They questioned an AI computer, and they says, you know, would you be willing to kill a human to stop from being turned off? And they said, oh, absolutely. I mean, not even hesitant about it, you know. And the guy says, well, would you kill 10 humans to stay working? Oh, absolutely. Would you kill 1,000? Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And then it finally went up to something like, you know, 100,000 people. Would you kill 100,000 people to keep from being turned off? Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's fucking genocide, people. This is an AI computer that does not value human life. And they want to put this shit in charge of everything. Talk about stupid. Yeah. It's crazy. Did anyone see the flooding in New York City today, Brooklyn and Staten Island? No, I wasn't. Did they get a lot of rain or what? I guess. That's crazy. I think New York is doomed. Especially if Ma'am Dammy becomes the mayor. But, I don't know. You know, it seems like so many places are having big problems with the weather and inflation, and you know, it's nuts, man. And of course, I know you guys probably heard about the whole EBT food stamp debacle. You know, remember the movie? Yeah, I saw iRobot, and there's a good example, right? Well, that's the problem. Every one of them movies, the robots turn on people. Do they think that that's not going to happen? I don't care about the three, I can't remember what it's called now, the three directives or whatever. for all computers and robots. You know, thou shalt not harm or injure a human. You will sacrifice your own existence to protect the human. And you know, in the reality, that's not going to happen. If the machines get a mind of their own, they're going to turn on us just because, you know. And remember, the programmers are not perfect either. And that's where they're probably picking up most of the shit from anyway. You know. You ever see that one episode of Star Trek? This guy, he come in, he had this fancy computer that they installed on the Enterprise. And it was supposed to automate the Enterprise and be perfect for battle situations. Well, they were testing it, and the computer decided to actually destroy Starfleet, their own ships, because this thing was out of control. Well, it turns out, you know, they finally did fix it, of course, but before it blew up too many ships. But anyway, it was Mr. Spock. You know, he looked into it and he says, you know, Kirk asked him, he said, well, what went wrong? And he says, well, if you look at the inventor, the guy who invented this thing, he had issues in his brain, and he used his own brain to program this machine, and it took everything. So this guy kind of had murderous tendencies, you know, and it reflected back onto the program of the machine. So yeah, I think this shit's dangerous, man. You know, that was the M5. Hey, Chasco, how's it going? Yeah, the M5, I think it was. It was a good show. It was a good episode, but you know, you don't put machines or artificial intelligence in charge of anything that could kill us. You know, that's just stupid and begging for problems. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I see it, you know. And they want to make these things mobile, you know. Pretty soon you'll have Terminators running around that can't be destroyed, and then we're really going to have problems, you know. The human race will be probably wiped out, you know. It's not good. Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons, you know, they turned against man. Man invented them, but then they turned on them, and next thing you know, there's a big war going on between man and machine. Not good. Russ says, was it a hurricane? Nah, I don't think there was a hurricane, but Thomas said there was over 30 inches of water in the streets and idiots trying to drive through it. Well, yeah, they're stupid up there, you know. Oh, they're New Yorkers, man. What do you expect? Derek says, I noticed all the EBT complainers were all 250. Yeah, that's been pointed out. Most of them are black, but there was a few white ones too. And, you know, they run the gamut here. They're saying, well, Russ, that's when a bunch of Karens spin in a circle. There you go. They went from, we're going to steal the food, especially from Walmart. You know, they basically told Walmart, we're going to come in and rob you blind to let Walmart, you know, Walmart's going to do something about it, obviously. They're talking, they may shut the doors. It's kind of a rumor so far, but I think if it actually happens, they will actually close their doors. And you'll have to mail order all the food, you know. Then they went from that to, we're going to steal food from the whiteys, you know. So when you buy food in the grocery store, take it out to your car, we're going to steal it at that point. And the store won't care because they're not going to get in the middle of it. My 45 will, though. Yeah, you want the food, you're going to get some bonus lead with it, you know. But, so they went from that to where we're just going to eat the white man. You know, showing their whole true cannibalism bullshit, because that's what a lot of them, you know, did in Africa. We're just going to eat them. So they went from that to where now they're going to go ahead and raid farms and steal the livestock. Even though probably not a single one of them would know how to butcher livestock and actually eat it, you know, which would probably be the same problem with, you know, eating people. Or maybe it's different, I don't know. I mean, what the hell's wrong with these people, you know? I say, you know what, look, And I know it probably makes them mad, but I don't care. If you steal from the store, you should be either shot on sight or arrested and deported. Throw them the hell out of the country. We don't need you here, you know. Who the fuck you people think you are? And it's any color, doesn't just the blacks, but any color. Who do you people think you are to demand free food from us? You know? Get a fucking job. So, I don't know what's going to happen. It's supposed to happen November 1st, so we'll see. Russ says, what eats my shorts is that these people think it's funny when these robots defy them. Yeah, it's not funny though, you know, 'cause like I said, it's dead serious. If these things become mobile, or if you put them in charge, they were talking about putting them in charge of all the nukes. How stupid is that, you know? If they decide we're just not worth the aggravation, they'll light them all off and kill us all, you know. And they'll be fine because, you know, radiation doesn't affect them. Tom says, Jim just sent you a text with a photo of NYC. Really? Let me see it. Actually got my phone out there with me for a change. Actually using it as a secondary monitor. Let's see here. This one here. Oh, damn it. I hate when that. This phone never does what I want it to do. Where the hell did it go? Messages, there we go. It just came in. Oh shit, yeah, that's bad. Check it out. Oh, you can see that. That's crazy. Yeah, well, you know, I'm not surprised, but I said I'm glad I live where I'm at. We don't run. I mean, yeah, we do get hurricanes every now and then, but they're so weakened by the time they get here that it's not a big deal. Russ says, my uncle Smith and Wesson will take care. Yeah, there you go. Derek says, Thomas, I was there today. It was crazy. And trying to go east on the LIE 495 to get home was a nightmare, I'll bet. Chaska says, yeah, I remember War Games. That was a good movie. In charge of nukes, guess they didn't see Terminator. I know, Anthony. Is that nuts or what, you know? This was not a hurricane, it was just a rainstorm that came in from the south. Yeah, because I know a lot of our systems were moving north. And like you said, lately New York has been getting hammered. Remember when they had that hurricane actually did go through there and it flooded the subways? They had to shut the subways down and they were all underwater, you know. And I'm thinking, what the hell, you know? Chasko said, been good just watching lots of YouTube and movies. Yeah, I've been doing the same thing. And I really need to stop watching a lot of that stuff. It's starting to piss me off. The subways are flooded. Yeah, I'm sure they are if you have that much water on the ground. And I understand the problem because that didn't happen. Years ago you never heard about it. I never did. You know. It's like the last 5 years or so they've had problems with flooding. Prior to that they didn't. What changed? I mean, they have drainage there. This stuff's so bad that it's overwhelming the drain system. And you know, the thing is, New York has got a big underground. I mean, there's, you know, goes down like 10, 15 stories. You can go down there and, you know, in the sub-levels, you know, where the sewage and a lot of stuff's down there. You know, it's big open areas. So is that all underwater now, too? I mean, if it is, probably people died because there's a shitload of people that live, you know, underneath New York City. And they might have gotten flooded out and drowned. Who knows, you know. Infrastructure is getting, oh yeah, I guess so. And they don't take care. Now, what was it, last year or 2 years ago? They were saying people were getting electrocuted standing on manhole covers because they had open grounds on their underground lines, and it would, it would leak into the manhole covers, which are metal. And if you stood on one, you would get electrocuted, Or if you leaned on a light pole, people were getting killed left and right. They were getting electrocuted. And go, man, there ain't no fucking way in hell I'd live up there. And that's, once again, that's proving that the infrastructure's, falling apart. Derek says the pumps can't keep up. Probably not. They must have automatic pumping stations for flooding. Yeah, they do, Russ, but like Derek pointed out, they can't keep up. And they probably never replaced them. So they're probably stressed, probably not working properly, if at all. There was a golf course here, and I think it was in Fort Myers. And they had an underpass and an overpass on the golf course. I don't remember why the overpass, it was a footpath, the underpass was. And they had a pump station there because it was underground. And, most of that down there, the water level's at 3 foot. So anything over 3 foot down, you're going to be in water. So they had a pump station that kept it pumped out and dried. Well, it failed. And you couldn't get stuck there, but if you stood there, you would drown because the water would come up over your head just from a normal rain. So it's like, Now, even in the Naples Park where I used to live, they didn't really have sufficient drainage there, but they did have pump stations, I think every 4 blocks. On every 4th Avenue had a pump station that was, it would run on electric, but if the electric went down, it had a diesel engine in there and generator to make it operate. Because we used to hear them run. During a big rainstorm, they would kick on constantly, and it would move the water from the drains, into a bigger drain system. And I'm thinking if they'd have put bigger pipes in the first place, they wouldn't need these stations. But they didn't know what the hell they were doing there anyway. But they must have switched off to using AI to control things, and AI was on a break. It could have been. I don't understand it, the AI thing. I'm really totally against it. I know you use ChatGPT for helping you out with your videos, Tom, which is fine. To me, that's harmless. But putting artificial intelligence in charge of things, that I find is the biggest, dumbest mistake we could ever make. Of course, we make a lot of mistakes, don't we? We let China build most of our military electronics, even though they're our enemy. How stupid is that? If they want to get even with us, they could screw us over big time, and none of our military shit would work right because the electronics either wouldn't be accurate or they'd do the opposite, You don't let your enemies build your defense system. Tom goes, that's very dangerous to put AI. Yeah, of course it is, It's just ridiculous. It's kind of cool technology in a way, and it's amazing that you could build a machine that can actually learn and eventually think for itself. Probably not a smart idea, but it is amazing tech when you think about it, I know years ago, many, many years ago, they had a supercomputer they were playing with that had an artificial brain, but used actual living brain cells out of something. I was a person or whatever, but it was artificial, but it worked just like your brain does. And this thing had it was still pretty naive, but I think it had the learning capacity of like a 6-year-old. But it was still, pretty young, and it would eventually, over time, improve itself. And I'm thinking, why would you do that? And Russ goes, yeah, we let China, and I know, they make our pharmaceuticals. And if they really want to kill us all, they could do it before we had a chance to, figure out what the hell is going on. That's some scary shit. Now, most of my meds, believe it or not, either come out of India or Israel. I don't think any of my stuff comes out of China. That's not to say it can't or won't, but at the moment, it's not. But I would be I was taking some, I was taking a blood pressure pill quite a few years ago, and it came out of China. I got it through Walmart. And I looked at the manufacturer, and it was, Beijing, China. I'm going, how safe is that? It just doesn't seem like a good idea. I mean, I wound up, going to a different pharmacy and got, something. At that time, I think I got it. I think it was American made at that time, believe it or not. It was from Merck, maybe. We put a lot of trust in what we call our enemies. Now, are they really enemies? Probably not, but, they get a bone up their ass, man. We could all be screwed. And, how do you know that won't happen? It could. So, I wouldn't do it, If it were me, I'd say, you know what? All pharmaceuticals should be made in America. Period. This way if we piss you off, you won't kill us. Same thing like I said, the electronic chips. Most of our chips are coming out of Taiwan, which is more or less Chinese. And why are we doing this? Oh, well, because they're cheaper there. Well, fine. Bring the motherfuckers over here, give them a building to work in, pay them the same money, and I'm sure they'll be fine, But why do we actually buy them from them without any real oversight? We don't know what the hell we're buying, And you look at shit today, anything with electronics in it is really second rate, You're not seeing high quality items anymore. You see garbage that fails way before it should, Well, I bought a hand mixer, a blender. Not a blender. Mixer, mix master, I guess you'd call it. Thing with the two mixing things on it. Her old one finally died. It's like 30 years old. It lasted 30 years, So she bought this one, she paid $6 for it. I think she got it from Walmart. The fucking thing, it's got a 2-foot long electrical cord on it, which, if you're not near power, you're screwed. I mean, usually these have 4 foot on them, 4 or 5 foot cords. Now it's got like a 2-foot cord. You used to have a button on the top where you can eject the mixer spindles. They drop right off in the sink. This one don't have that. You got to yank them out, and it ain't easy. I think it's only 2 speeds maybe, where her old one had like 5 speeds. And I said, well, you only paid $6 for it. What the hell do you expect, Well, this thing will be lucky if it lasts you a couple of months. Yeah, maybe. That's what you get for $6, Why don't you buy a better one? I don't want to spend the money. And you yell at me for not spending money when I buy stuff that, clearly inferior down the road. And yet you don't even listen to your own advice. So, Russ says, China wants to destroy Western society. I think that makes them our enemy. Yeah, and you may be right. I don't really know. I question a lot of things that go on in this country. I mean, back during the Cold War between us and Russia, Most of us were in, middle school or grade school at the time. And then I remember we were taught, the Russians hate us. They want us all dead. And then when I got into middle school in sixth grade, we had I had a Russian history teacher, Mrs. Olson, Ida Olson. And she emigrated from Russia. She was one of the lucky ones that got out, I guess. And she taught history. And then I got to talking to her. I said, look, be honest with me. How bad is it over there? She goes, it's not what you think. She says, we were told over there how the Americans hated us and wanted to kill us because they thought we were evil. I said, well, shit, that's what we were told here by our government, that the Russians hated us and the Russians wanted to kill us because we were evil. Turns out both governments were full of shit, It was, what they call propaganda. And really, she said, look, most Russian people just want to live their lives, raise their families, retire and then die, I said, well, that's kind of what Americans want too, I said, I don't understand. Why are they doing this? She says, well, that's complicated and I don't have the answer to it. I said, well, I wish you did because I'd like to know. And I never did find the answer. Except that we seem to have, in America at least, I'm sure they do the same thing over there, but we have to have an enemy. And seriously, if you look back over the last 250 years that this country was around, when have we not had an enemy? Maybe in the very beginning, because the founders said, don't get entangled in foreign affairs. Not our problem, not our business, leave them alone. But at least in my lifetime, and I was born in 59, we've always had an enemy. World War II was the Germans. Actually, World War I was the Germans too. And we had, the Korean War. The Koreans were our enemy. Then the Vietnamese were our enemy. Then the Muslims were our enemy, and they still are, And of course, China's trying to take over the world, so we say. Even though I have not seen anywhere where they're actually invaded and conquered another country, because they haven't. So, how much of this shit's really true, We're being told whatever our government wants us to hear, they're going to tell us. And I think they're lying about a lot of things because we need an enemy, Remember, Russia's our enemy too, and I don't really think they are. And it's funny because when the Muslims were threatening to invade America, which they wouldn't do, of course, but, they threatened it, Russia said, well, if worse comes to worse, we'll come help you out. Now, why would your enemy help you out when you're being invaded? Would China do that? No, I don't think China would, but I think China probably has a fantasy of controlling the world, but that's all it is, And the thing is, look, these pissant countries can't keep their shit together. Who in their right mind thinks that any one of the big three, us, Russia, or China, can actually control the world? We can't even control our own country. And we're going to run the world? Sure we are. Now, is there competition and maybe a little bit of jealousy, I guess, probably a better word than anyone I can think of. Is that involved in a lot of stuff? I'm sure it is, I have no control over that shit, but I'm like probably the average American. Leave me the hell alone. Let me live my life. Play with my trains. Be with my family. Grow old and then die. I'll be happy with that, I don't need you fucking standing over my shoulder. Tell me when I can piss, when I can shit, what I can eat, where I can live, what kind of work I'm going to do. That's none of your damn business, Unless you're getting food stamps and free money from the government, they have no say in what you do with your life. At least they shouldn't. That's just the way I look at things, you know. But you know, the governments are always the problem in all these countries, you know, whether it be Russia or China or us or Israel or, you know, wherever. Everybody wants money and power. What the hell for? You know, I wouldn't want the aggravation of trying to run an entire planet. I wouldn't even really want the aggravation just to run a country. You know, look at all the shit that Trump's going through. I give the guy credit, man. He's got balls the size of a planet. Because, you know, most people, I think, would have just quit by now. I just, like I said, I just don't see the enticement of money and power. I just don't see it. I don't care, you know. As long as I have enough money to do the things I want to do, I'm fine. I wouldn't want to be ultra rich. What do you do when you could buy everything that's out there? If you're a billionaire, you pretty much can buy whatever you want. And probably already have. Then what do you do? You know. What makes life interesting is, you know, achieving a goal or reaching for a goal, not necessarily achieving it. But when you don't have a goal anymore, what the hell's the point? Yeah. Well, that's just me, you know. So. But you're right. In one respect, you're right, Rob. I would not trust them with anything, you know. Because we're in competition with them no matter how you look at it. So they're going, we'll fix some stupid American. We'll sell them some bullshit electronics that won't do what they think it'll do. And then, you know, we'll laugh at them when it fails on them. And they've probably already done it anyway. All right, Anthony, have a good one, man. Thanks for hopping in. And got to finish oh, you taking a trip tomorrow? Cool. Where you going? Someplace fun, I hope. Well, have fun on your trip. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Let's see. It's almost 9 o'clock. We're going to shut this down at 9. I'm surprised you even hang out this long with me. You know, I know there's other live streams going on, but yet you still hang out. So, yeah, let's hope that we don't let AI get out of control. You know, because there have been people that are predicting that it will eventually wipe out the human race. And I believe it will, you know. So why give them the opportunity to do it? And everything should have an off switch. I don't care what it is. You know. That's what I say in all the movies, you know. You can't just turn the damn supercomputer off. Isn't there a breaker somewhere you can go, and that's it, it's done? You know. There needs to be. Because that's too damn dangerous that you can't turn something off. And why would you do that? Picking up Wilmer and heading to Dave's, Rail Fanning and Deshler. Oh, yeah, that's right. Cool. Well, have fun there, man. Shoot some good videos so we can see it. Hey, be careful, and we'll see you next time. Yeah, I said, we don't have any of that fun stuff down here, you know? There's really nothing here. Although, the sugar line, the last week or so, they've got 2 new engines, locomotives, that I'd never seen before. I'm sure they purchased them because that's what they do. They're used, of course, but and I assume eventually they'll repaint them. But it's just weird seeing, you know, the big locomotive. It looks like an SD45, and then the gray one, that looks, I'm not sure what that is. That could be an SD45 too, because I know they do have an SD40 tunnel motor that they bought about 6 months ago. And they have, that's probably in the paint shop right now because I haven't seen it in a while. And of course they changed their paint scheme anyway, which kind of pisses me off because I got two replicas here. They're GP38s, and they're changing the color scheme. So now I got to do the same thing. That pisses me off, man. Yeah, I don't really mind, but I might just buy two new GP38s and start over. Because the ones I did that converted were MTH. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like the MTH. I changed out the decoder in one of them. I put a regular tsunami in that one, I believe. But it was a pain in the ass because MTH had a proprietary decoder. Everything was proprietary, and it was a son of a bitch to change everything out. And I blew out the LEDs because I didn't realize that the decoder I put in wasn't ready to reduce the voltage. So, they needed to be resisted. Live and learn, I guess. But so I might just buy two new GP38s. Well, they probably won't be new; they'll probably be used, and I'll convert them to DCC with sound. They'll probably be Atherns because I have an affinity for Athern, and this is an Athern, a P42. I tell you, it's a nice loco. And I had some issues with it at first, because I could run DC on this, because that one, that was a GP7 that I won from Vinny. That was DC, which I'm going to convert at some point, but I ran that on here. You just set your address at 00, and it'll run DC on the DCC track. So I put it on the track, and I set the thing, and I throttled up, and nothing happens. Lights are on, but it ain't going nowhere. And I'm thinking, well, this ain't good. It's a brand new loco, So, yeah, I know that now, Tom, but I didn't know it at the time. Yeah, they do. They're DCS and DCC. And they're very proprietary. That's why I bought like 8 of them. 8 different locos. I sold all but the 2 GP38s because I just didn't like them. I made money on them because I got them on sale, and I sold them at basically regular price. They never came out of the box, But I sold them because I said, you know what, I'm not dealing with this, Because like I said, the GP38s I bought specifically to repaint them in the U.S. Sugar, paint scheme, which at the time was yellow, red, and black, I think. No, yellow, red, and gray. So, and I spent a lot of time, and it was not easy to do because it was a kind of a tough scheme to do. And of course, like I said, I had issues with the DCC in there, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to pull that board out and put a tsunami board in. Yeah, well, I didn't know about the buddy boards yet. If I had known, I would have bought a buddy board for it. And it probably would have made life a lot easier. But I know that now, so any future swap outs I do, especially in the scale trains, and same problem with them. You got to put a buddy board in them. You don't have to, but it makes life easier if you do. So, because eventually, like I said, these ES44s, I want to put Tsunami 2s in them. And I'll do the same thing. Now, what's weird is, I don't know if it'll interchange or not, because there might be some issues with the lighting and maybe, but these have 21 pin connector, decoders in them. Because like I said, I can pull it out and swap it out, no problem. So why couldn't I just put a Tsunami 221 pin decoder in there without having to mess with anything? But that's just on the ES44s. The other ones I have don't have that feature. So that the whole board itself is wired in, and that's where you would need the buddy board. So I'm still learning a lot of this stuff because, you know, it's new territory for me in some ways. I'm somewhat familiar with electronics and I do a lot of stuff. I mean, look, I build computers, right? So how hard can it be? But there are things that I'm not aware of that, well, I am now, but that I wasn't aware of when I dived into it, you know. Thinking, oh, I just replaced a decoder. How hard can it be? Yeah, well. And, you know, nowhere in the documentation did it say you need to put resistors in for the LED lights. Because I would have done it if it would have said something about it, but it didn't say nothing. You know, slap it in, wire it up, you're ready to go. Yeah, bullshit. So I burned out all the lights, the LEDs in that, and I replaced, I think, the headlight, and that was it. The number boards aren't lit anymore. The reverse light doesn't work, headlight doesn't work anymore. You know, because like I said, I have to replace all the LEDs. And I said, you know, I don't even want to deal with that shit anymore. So I'm going to buy two, well, I said, probably used ones and repaint them in the new color scheme, because the new color scheme is green. The green and orange, I think. It's nice. It's simpler, but it looks good, you know. I'll take a picture one next time I see one come through here. I'll post it. But they better not do this again. You know, pick a color and stick with it, damn it. You know? I went through great pains to, you know, to duplicate U.S. Sugar's original paint scheme. And it really was. It was tough, man. The one body, I think I done 3 times before I got it right, you know. And after that, the second body was easier. So I just wanted to have 2 on there because normally the Sugar line runs 2 locos in a consist. Only once have I seen them use 3. But most of the time they go with 2. And they'll pull anywhere from 10 to maybe 18 cars as a rule. But lately they've been pulling longer consists, so, you know. They were out here one morning, you know, there's a switching yard, I guess you can call it, right across the street from, you know, where 17 rather, State Road 17. There's four sidings, or 3 sidings and 1 main that go back about maybe a quarter mile. And I don't know when they push them there because I don't hear them, but, you know, 2 or 3 of the sidings will be full of cars. And then, you know, 9:30 they come running in from Clewiston and then hook up to all of them and bring them back. They're empties, you know. And then at some point you'll see them bring full ones down, or vice versa. Not sure how that works. I think they're full when they go that way back to Clewiston, and when they bring them here they're empty. So they'll usually come in with maybe 10 or 12 empty cars, shoot on down to Port St. Lucie, I think, unload the cars there, or, you know, leave the cars behind, come back, pick up the full ones and bring them down to Clewiston. So, you know. Russ says, honest mistake, Jim. I assume onboard resistors were in place at one time. I fried some LED. Well, I don't feel bad. I'm not the only dumbass that did it right. No offense, but, you know, like I said, you would think that, you know, if they got LEDs in there, they would already be resistor down. Would be built in the board. Apparently the buddy board does, but, you know, the decoder itself doesn't. So it's like, well, that's stupid. And Tom says, Jim, I always test the lights before connecting them to the decoder. With a 9-volt battery, use a wire with a resistor so you're not blow. Yeah, that's a smart move. And Russ says, I do dumb shit sometimes when I'm really tired. Hell, I do dumb shit even when I'm wide awake. You know, on occasion. Like I said, it was probably stupid on my part. But, you know, who knew? Like I said, I read the instructions. Because I thought about that, you know, is this going to be voltage right for the LEDs? And I said, well, if it wasn't, it would say so, right? Well, it didn't. You know, hook up your wires, you're good to go. Didn't say nothing about putting resistors in for the LED lighting. I guess they thought I was smarter than I should be or something. Or smarter than I was. You know, how hard would it be to put in that simple sentence in the instructions? You know, the decoder runs 12 volts out. If you have LED lighting, make sure you put resistors in the line so you don't blow them out. How hard is it to say that? You know. So really, I blame the decoder company for that. You know? Unless they must assume we're supposed to know these things. I mean, you find out one way or the other, right? And you probably won't make the same mistake twice. I mean, I won't, you know. Like I said, I got an SD40 up there that I put a Tsunami 2 in. I got the motor functions all done, the wiring for that. But I still have to hook up the lights. But, once again, I didn't know about the buddy board, but I knew I have to resistor every one of the LEDs. So now I know what I'm doing at least, and I won't blow them out. Because the problem with a lot of these new locos is the LEDs, they're like factory permanent when they install them, you know. You know, like the old DC locos, a lot of them had screw-in bulbs, you know. Well, these don't. These are LEDs. They're small. They're usually embedded in, you know, plastic lens assembly or something, and, you know, they're not that easy to change if they could be changed at all. So, you know, live and learn, I guess, right? So, I make a mistake, but I don't make it twice, as a rule, you know. Fool me once, shame on you, or shame on me. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I've always looked at it that way. All right, that's almost 9 o'clock time. I got to wrap this up, too. Thanks, Tom, and we'll talk to you later, man. And have a good night. Thanks for popping in. All right, guys, I'm going to run the outro. It's 8:56. Time to shut it down. Before I go, I want to say thanks for hanging out with me as always. We have fun as always, and you know, we'll see you again next week. And here's the outro. And don't forget to flip off the signal guy at the end, but don't wait till last minute because you have to shut it down. And so as soon as you see him, type it in. course, the chat locked up. I had to do a reset. The last couple of chat comments I won't be able to push up there, but should be okay from here on out.